Regulated to death? That's harsh. Even I assume the regulators don't want death. They don't want to kill prosperity. But they do kill prosperity. Here's part of a new web video that took a clear stand on that.
If I wanted America to fail, I'd make cheap energy expensive. If I wanted America to fail, I would never teach children that the free market is the only force in human history to uplift the poor. If I wanted America to fail, I would create countless new regulations and seldom cancel old ones. I'd send federal agents to raid guitar factories for using the wrong kind of wood. I'd make it easier to stop commerce than to start it, easier to kill jobs than create them. If I wanted America to fail, I suppose I wouldn't change a thing.
That video was made by a group called Free Market America, which did not expect it to catch on the way it has. As of this week, it's been viewed about 2 million times on YouTube. The guy speaking on the video is Ryan Houck, Executive Director of Free Market America. So what's Free Market America?
Free Market America is a group of true believers. We began as a Florida-based organization battling environmental extremism and have since gone national.
Is that what made you a free market believer, the Florida environmentalists?
You know, partly, yes. I mean, we had a preview of the Occupy Wall Street movement a couple of years ago in Florida. And it's scary stuff. These are folks who, as the video says, resent success rather than seek it.
But you think they resent success, or they just want a safer, cleaner world?
I think they resent success. These folks are no longer interested in conservation, so to speak. This isn't our grandfather's environmental movement. These are folks who are more interested in micromanaging the daily elements of everyone's life. And so we view it as a threat to liberty. The purpose of Free Market America is to make the pro-freedom case on environmental extremism.
So you and a couple other people, 3 writers, you're sitting around talking about it. You shoot this in 7 days. You're in your office, go home on a Friday. It's been viewed 200 times?
Yeah, 265 times, exactly. We had no expectation that it would be this big. And frankly, it's been a source of a lot of optimism for me personally. I think that history teaches us never to bet against America. This is the country that lit the torch of freedom, that laid the golden spike, won in 2 world wars, and put a man on the moon. Our challenge today, the challenge of this generation, is simply to wake up and remember why those things happen. They happen because of the essential ingredient, liberty. And so we made this video based on the things we know to be true. We didn't need to focus group it. You don't need to poll test it. These are the things that we know. I think that's what resonated with people.
Are you suggesting that President Obama wants America to fail?
No, I'm not suggesting that. I'm not here to question anybody's patriotism, only their common sense. Our point is a broader critique of the environmental movement. Since 1960, environmental regulation has increased by over 7,000%. Drains more than $281 billion each year out of our economy.
The air and water are cleaner than they used to be.
Well, everyone wants clean air and everyone wants clean water. But these environmental regulations now cost the average small business owner more than $4,000 per worker. We've catapulted past common sense, and we've reached the point where we're producing little environmental benefit, but still producing extraordinary cost.
And I would totally agree in that when I was a kid, you couldn't open the window in this town because soot would come in. But they fixed that, and they spend even more after they've already gotten the air and water clean, plenty clean.
Right.
I can swim in the Hudson River. But the regulator always wants more, hence the pile of rules.
Well, that's because the problems created by government, in government's mind, always have the same solution: more government. And we've now got an extremely aggressive EPA that is often using lawsuits to drive regulations. And on top of that, we've got a professional bureaucratic class, the sole purpose of which seems to be to unfurl new regulations every day without any regard for the cost and regardless of who's in the White House.
There's one part of your video I'd quibble with. Let's play that.
If I wanted America to fail, I would empower unaccountable bureaucracy seated in a distant capital to bully Americans out of their dreams and their property rights.
Now, I quibble with the word unaccountable. The same complaints been made about Obamacare, that unelected bureaucrats will decide who gets what medicine. Well, electing them wouldn't make it better. It's still top down. I think we should just say bureaucrats or politicians.
Well, I think both of them are a problem. I think you've got a problem with unaccountable bureaucrats, a professional class that has long since moved beyond common sense, so to speak. And on top of that, you got the fact that they're seated in a distant capital.
One part of your video that I think a lot of Americans would argue about is this one.
If I wanted America to fail, I convince Americans that Europe has it right and that America has it wrong.
I think a lot of Americans think Europe has it right. Europe is a kind country. It's nice, looks environmentally clean when you go there. They help poor people.
It's $8 per gallon of gas in France. In the United States, we have a get-up-and-go culture. My ability to get in my car and drive and visit someone, a family member, a friend, a colleague on the other side of the country is important to me, and it's an essential ingredient of freedom. The other thing here that we're perhaps overlooking is that the regulatory climate in Europe, despite the problems we have here, is far worse.
And they have less job growth and less innovation.
Absolutely.
One last point. Just take us back to that moment when you went home for the weekend, then you checked the YouTube score. What was it like?
Oh, it was incredible. We were absolutely blown away. When I left, it was 265 views on Friday. By Saturday, it was a few thousand. By Sunday, it had really exploded, and we had hundreds of thousands of views. And by Monday, we were off to the races. And you're talking to a guy who thought a couple hundred people might watch this video and who has been immensely gratified by the response.
Thank you, Ryan.